Gold Rush fans, buckle up, because Season 16, Episode 13, is shaping up to be one of the most explosive episodes we've seen all season. The sneak peeks are packed with tension, the trailer drops some serious hints, and the spoilers? Let's just say, nothing goes according to plan. Big gambles, breaking equipment, rising pressure, and decisions that could make or completely break the season for our miners. Some crews are on the edge of striking it rich, while others might be staring straight at disaster. And hidden in the trailer are a few blink and you miss it moments that change everything. In this video, we're breaking down every sneak peek, every clue in the trailer, and the biggest spoilers you need to know, including one shocking twist most fans haven't noticed yet. Trust me, you'll want to stick around till the end, because the final detail might completely change how you see Episode 13. Let's dig in. Asterisk really sets the tone for Gold Rush Season 16. Episode 13, with one of those moves that instantly tells you everything about where his head is at, because this isn't a daylight, coffee in hand, let's see what today brings kind of plan. This is a midnight run. And in Gold Rush, midnight doesn't mean casual, it means urgency. It means pressure. It means someone feels like the window is closing. And the only way to stay ahead is to move before anyone else can. So when Rick heads out to stake new ground for his empire, that one word, empire, hits harder than it sounds. It tells you he's not thinking like a miner trying to limp to the next cleanout anymore. He's thinking like someone who wants leverage, options, and control. Like he's tired of being boxed in by bad weeks, breakdowns, and ground that doesn't pay the way it's supposed to. And right away, it frames the entire episode as a balancing act between two competing needs: the need to secure the future and the need to survive the present. What makes this midnight mission feel so intense is the idea that staking ground isn't just a nice to have, it's a survival decision dressed up like ambition. Because on paper, expanding into new ground sounds like a power move, but in reality, it can be one of the riskiest things a crew can do when they're already under strain. New ground isn't guaranteed gold. It's a question mark you're paying for with time, fuel, effort, and mental energy. And the real danger is that expansion can quietly become a trap. The more ground you try to control, the more logistics you create, the more equipment you have to move, the more people you have to stretch thin, and the more chances you have for something to go wrong at exactly the wrong moment. So while Rick is out there staking a claim and thinking like a builder, there's this tension hanging over him the entire time. This move could make him look like a genius. Later, the guy who read the season perfectly and positioned himself for a massive run, or it could become the exact decision that drains the last of the crew's momentum. If the ground doesn't deliver, or the operation can't support the extra weight. And then, just as the episode has you locked into this empire mindset, it hard cuts back to reality with the thing that always decides whether the dreams live or die in Gold Rush: the plant. Because while Rick is staking the future, the present is sitting back at the site, waiting to demand its payment, and that payment comes in the form of repairs. When we shift to Rick working on Monster Red, it's a reminder that no matter how big you think, everything still comes down to whether your equipment is actually running. A wash plant isn't just a piece of machinery in this world. It's a heartbeat. If it's down, everything else is just noise. Trucks can haul all day. Excavators can dig until their arms are tired. Crews can burn through fuel like water. But if the plant isn't processing pay, the season is bleeding out by the minute. And that's what makes repairs so punishing. You're not just fixing metal. You're watching daylight and production slip away while the pressure quietly climbs in everyone's chest. This is where Episode 13 flips into its most interesting gear. Because what starts as a straightforward repair turns into one of those classic Gold Rush moments where the show reminds you that mining is full of surprises, some terrible, some miraculous, and some that are both at the same time. While Rick is fixing Monster Red, he discovers she's been hiding a surprising amount of gold. And that single detail changes the energy of the episode instantly, because hidden gold can mean a lot of things in a mining operation. But no matter the exact reason, the emotional impact is always the same. Suddenly, the crew is staring at proof that the operation may have been doing better than they believed. It's the difference between thinking you've been scraping by and realizing you might have been sitting closer to a real payday than you knew. And psychologically, that's massive because it's not just ounces. It's morale. It's the crew's belief switching from "we're in trouble" to "wait, we might actually be on something." What makes this reveal feel even bigger is the fact that it comes through the plant itself. Like Monster Red is a character in the story suddenly revealing she's had a secret this whole time. When you hear that she's been hiding gold, you can almost picture the crew's reaction. A mix of relief and disbelief. The kind of stunned pause where everyone is mentally recalculating what the season could still become. Because if the plant is holding onto a surprising amount of gold, it suggests that at least part of the operation has been working, maybe not perfectly, maybe not visibly, but enough that there's real value trapped in the system. And in a season defined by stress, that kind of discovery feels like oxygen. Now, the reason episode 13 works so well as a story is that these two threads, Rick staking new ground and Monster Red revealing hidden gold, aren't separate. They're connected by one question. Does Rick have enough momentum to build something bigger? Or is he still fighting just to stay alive? The midnight staking run is about the long game. It's about not being cornered later, about making sure Rick isn't trapped in a single cut with no backup plan. But the long game requires a short game lifeline, and that's where Monster Red's hidden gold becomes more than a cool twist. It becomes strategic fuel. Because sudden extra gold doesn't just look good on a way-in. It can keep fuel flowing, keep the crew paid, keep repairs possible, and most importantly keep confidence alive, long enough for the Empire plan to matter. But here's the tension that makes this episode feel like a warning. Disguised as a win, surprise gold can be dangerous. Not because gold is bad, obviously, but because it can trick you into thinking the system is fine when it might not be. If Monster Red was hiding gold, it raises a huge question. Was she performing so well that she trapped gold in places nobody expected? Or was something off in the flow, the setup, the monitoring? The clean-out something that made the crew unaware of what was happening inside their own recovery process. Because in mining, you don't just want gold, you want predictable gold. You want to know your plant is doing what you think it's doing, day after day. Because the second you lose visibility, you start making big decisions based on bad assumptions. And if Rick is out here staking new ground, thinking expansion, thinking empire, the last thing he can afford is a plant that's quietly operating in ways he doesn't fully understand. That's why episode 13 lands as both a boost and a reality check. On one hand, Rick's midnight move tells you he's refusing to play small. He's chasing security, leverage, and a future that isn't dependent on a single cut paying out. On the other hand, Monster Red's secret stash reminds you that the entire dream still hinges on the basics. Your plant, your recovery, and your ability to keep the machine running without hemorrhaging time. The episode's rhythm becomes the steady escalation, urgency at midnight, pressure in the daylight, the stress of repairs, and then the sudden, emotional swing when the gold appears, followed immediately by the underlying question of what that gold actually means for the health of the operation. By the time you reach the end of this breakdown, the real hook of episode 13 isn't even the gold itself, it's what the gold represents. Is this hidden stash the sign of a turnaround? The moment that proves Rick's season still has teeth and his empire plan is actually possible? Or is it one of those classic gold rush twists, where a lucky break gives the crew just enough confidence to push harder right before the next setback hits? Because if there's one thing this show teaches over and over, It's that mining doesn't just test your equipment. It tests your decision-making under pressure. And it punishes anyone who mistakes a temporary win for permanent safety. So as you watch episode 13, keep your eye on the real story happening underneath the surface. Rick is trying to transform from a miner reacting to problems into a leader shaping the season's staking ground, expanding his options, building towards something bigger. And Monster Red, in the middle of all that, delivers the kind of surprise that can either launch a run or expose a blind spot. Either way, this episode feels like a pivot point. Because if Rick can pair that unexpected gold with smart choices on new ground, the season shifts from survival to strategy. But if the hidden gold is a symptom of something they weren't tracking properly, then the Empire might be building on a foundation that still isn't stable.